Welcome to my Rebellion 2022 review. Now, guys, I am going to be doing two reviews. Two. One for the experience I received in Rebellion, and then you will be hearing a second review. Listen to my words, because many of you will just switch it off after I'm done because you're that damn slow. The first review is the experience I received on all the matches. That is the first one you're going to get, which is not going to be very long. The second review will be not including the experience I received. It will be clearly what I could see and how I perceived it. Okay? Because the first one is going to talk about what was going on stream. And the second one will be from what I could see. And I will give you a fair review on both. I'm giving you a fair review. But you will see a very short review on how bad the experience was and a general long review on what it gave us. So, what is the short review? If I am correct, and I hope I'm wrong, that this was a technical problem either from Impact Wrestling themselves as they were... Remember, Impact is running live, and they're sending their feed directly to Fight to stream it. Whether it's them or Fight, it was the worst experience I have ever seen, where either the entire stream would drop, or, and this is just me, maybe there was something wrong, maybe due to the fact in my area, even though my internet is working fine, maybe my stream was bad, but the stream I experienced compared to anyone else was so bad, I either had no audio, literally, audio would stop. Then I would have no video, just audio. Or the stream would just cease working and just buffer. I even went to a pirate stream to see what was going on. And as you know, pirate streams, those guys or girls take their stream from what they see from Fight, as you know. And I went to several websites to see what was going on. And guess what? Many of their streams were either buffeting, or audio was playing only, or video was playing only, or, and what I didn't say earlier, if you could see and have audio and video together, the audio was not lined up with the video. So you would have audio by maybe 30 or 40 seconds ahead of video, 100%. So this went through the first matches, and not talking about the kickoff. That was different. That was on YouTube. It worked fine. But the first match, audio didn't work. Video didn't work. It flipped back and forth. So I do know that Macklin won, but I could not see most of what happened with Macklin. And what I could see, even though he did wear face paint, and I'll elaborate on the full review, it was terrible. Second match, AAA, same thing. Either audio was out of sync, or video didn't show, or there was no audio, or the stream dropped. There was parts you could see. Next, when it came to the X Division, the same thing. Either audio or video, or there was nothing but buffeting from either the streams from Fight or the pirate streams. Same thing. And that goes along with Ishii, and I didn't even know who won that match. I will still give my review of what I saw, but I do not know who won. Same thing. It went across even when it came to the elimination tournament for pretty much for the tag titles. Same thing. Only time it worked, and I will also elaborate on the longer review, is literally the final match of the night. And that also, the knockouts were nothing. I could not see it. It was bad. Either audio was out of sync, or I couldn't even watch it. It became disorientating that you got a 30 or 40 second stream of audio and then 30 or 40 seconds behind. The only one that worked was the final match of the night. And I will not elaborate completely on it because I want to be more thorough in the more longer review. But as a short review, if it was either Fight, the website itself, streaming, or Impact themselves trying to feed into Fight, it was the worst experience you could have. This was a wash. It was garbage. It was nothing. Taking away from good matches, which we always get from Impact, even with a bad build, they always give good pay-per-views. This easily was garbage. You cannot enjoy it. But that was if this was Fight or Impact. It could also still be because sometimes in my area, if you're doing any internet, it can become messed up. Even though my internet is working correctly, I got files, doesn't mean it could happen. So that was the first part of the review. First review. Listen, it's a first review. Now the full review of what I saw that I can review. But I had to tell you the experience, the review of my experience of the stream. Now, what did we get in this show? This pay-per-view, taking away what happened, was good. As we always know with Impact Wrestling, if you bloody idiots have ever watched Impact for years, you know that they always have a bad build into a pay-per-view, but they still deliver a good pay-per-view. This is just their MO. I don't understand how they could mess up builds going into a pay-per-view, but still give a very good pay-per-view. Sometimes they give a great pay-per-view, but usually they give a good one. This one was a good pay-per-view with a great ending. Let me explain. Kickoff. We had Eddie versus a Chris Bay. Due to the fact that Gresham could not be there, probably due to the fact that he is now working with AEW a little bit more, or maybe he's doing COVID protocol. You never know. He was not there, so Chris Bay had to deal with Eddie Edwards. Good match, a good opener for the kickoff. It made people very happy to see. There wasn't a huge noise in Poughkeepsie, but people did enjoy it. So, I'm not surprised that Eddie won it. There's no way he wasn't going to win. Come on. But I will say this. Even though he did win the match, we don't usually see Chris Bay one-on-one with someone like an Eddie Edwards, which I'm actually happy it happened. I wish it would happen again. But with a real story behind it, it was about Chris Bay and Eddie, and it was good. Now, the Knockouts tag titles. Influence versus Inspiration. No Caleb with a K. No other interference. And I'm going to put some images, not many, putting some. One of the things you can say about Influence, they are what they are. But I will say this about the Inspiration. I have not been fond of how they present themselves. When they first came in, they did the iconic stick. And I said they should have waited a while. It did piss me off at the time of Bound for Glory. I will not lie about that. I really felt they needed to build into it instead of just going straight into it. It just showed they weren't using their imagination. But I will say this. When it comes to their enthusiasm, it is much better than it was in WWE. This enthusiasm both Jesse and Cassie are giving is much better than it was in WWE. Whether you like them or not, they're actually happy. And that's something not many people get to say in wrestling or anything else. Was the match good? I'll give it to you like this. As usual, Cassie is the one who leads the match and makes it mean a lot more than what Jesse does. Jesse is just not Jesse is not the best wrestler. Now, I will say by the end of the match, she did look a lot better than she normally does. Now, maybe she's been practicing a lot more to try and improve herself. But when you see a Madison Rayne try to do a backstabber on her, it looked terrible. I don't know if I got that shot. You could see that when you do a backstabber, yes, Madison wasn't at a very good angle, but she should have arched her back when she grabbed her to make it look like she was badly affected by it. I'm not expecting her to do such an arch where she can break her back, but I expect her to at least show some reaction. She didn't show a reaction. She just took it, crunched to the ground, and then rolled out of the ring. I don't think that was very well done at all. But the influence wins. Now, mind you, I did say this months ago, that I was worried about the inspiration, that the way they booked them, they didn't really have a good idea what to do with them. Now what do you have? They don't have the titles, and now they feel like they have not been booked properly. Doesn't mean you don't like them. I want to make it clear to anyone who likes the inspiration. This is not about if you don't like them, if they're not great. It's about how they've been booked. They haven't been booked very well. They haven't. The only thing they had was dealing with the influence, and they didn't even do that correctly either, because they should have done something more with Tennille Dashwood, who is not only a friend of theirs, but the first Aussie to come to America and make it from their own hometown. I'm sorry. Well, maybe from their own hometown of Sydney. But the point is, they truly should have done a better storyline with Tennille. But then Tennille wasn't there a lot anyway, so it didn't work that well as it was. I'm just saying. Now, the first match, triple threat, Jay White versus Chris Sabin versus Macklin. Now, from what I could see from being in the ring, just like what happened on YouTube, was the camera work good? Yes. The camera work was better this time around. It looks like someone noticed that the camera work looked bad, and instead of zooming in so much, they actually kept the camera wider, which is actually what was needed. So you could see what was going on. Now, was it aired a couple of times? Yeah, they aired throughout the night, but it wasn't so substantial that you saw it like this majority of the time, or worse, this. I don't know if, come on, zoom in, zoom. Sorry guys, the camera decided to glitch out on me and I had to stop it and restart it. Anyway, was it a good match for what you could see? Yes, it was a good match. Macklin wearing face paint was actually quite interesting. Kind of reminded me of the same style of face paint that Ortiz and Santana used. Now, it doesn't mean that's what he was doing. It could have been a homage to the Road Warriors. It could have been a homage to Demolition. It could have been a homage to anybody you want. But Macklin did eventually win. It was good for what I could see. But here's the thing that got me that I really don't agree with. Macklin did win against Sabin and Jay White. But wouldn't it have been better if Macklin had actually won the X Division and had been defending it instead of Trey Miguel? You can't tell me it wouldn't have been better having a Macklin defending the X Division compared to Trey. I just believe it would have been better if he had. Now, the Triple A Duranus title, that I did manage to see a good amount, but unfortunately there was no sound. Now, did Taya look great? Yes, she did. Did Deonna Purrazzo look great? Yes, she did. I felt that that was the best women's match they had. I'm sorry. Compared to Tasha and Rosemary, and I'll get to them in a few moments, I felt that this was one of the best matches of the night. It was done. Now, did Taya get a little tanked? Yes, she did. Did a little bit of the Deonna Purrazzo get a little bit tanked? A little bit, just a little bit, by nearing the end, because they were really trying their best to make this mean something. And in the end, I didn't know who was going to win. I know it would be easy to say Taya, because there's no way you wouldn't think Taya wouldn't win, but I didn't know. I just didn't know. So, for me, I wasn't really thinking about who would be the best person to win. I just wanted to see the match and see how they were doing it, due to the fact there was no build for Taya and Deonna. There just was no build. So I'm just going by just the match quality. The match quality was the second best match of the night for me personally. So what do we get? We get the new Reina's champion of Taya Valkyrie. Now here's the big question. We don't know if Taya is signed. Yes, people will say she's signed, but does not mean she is actually signed. She could just be working and getting paid. I'm hoping she's signed with Impact. Does not mean she is signed, because we know for a fact that not all the time Impact hires these people. They just pay them to come in for tapings, and when they don't come in anymore, they're written off TV. So the question is going to be for me, is she going to have a storyline or two? Is she going to be defending that title on Impact Wrestling? That's the big questions I have. Will she be in a storyline? And will she actually get to wrestle on Impact TV with that title? Because the one who was making it the best was Deonna Purrazzo. I'm just saying. Now, this was the third best match of the night. X Division Triple Threat. Ace versus Trey versus Speedball Mike Bailey. The best person that looked there was Mike Bailey. Second was Trey. Third was Ace. Now, that doesn't mean Ace is garbage, and doesn't mean Trey is garbage and Bailey is better than any of them. They wanted to make Speedball look good, and he did look good. But here's the thing. The one that should have won that match should have been Speedball. Should be. Now, mind you, if they're going, and I want to make this clear, there's two parts to this. The first part, if Speedball does not have a feud with Ace Austin from this moment on, this was the most stupidest way to end Trey's reign. Honestly. Because the only reason you would have Ace have it is for Speedball to go after it. Because if Trey is the one that's cared more about getting to get that title back due to the fact, and the one thing I thought when I heard that his mother and grandmother passed away in the last year, this year, I thought maybe they may not let him drop it. Or if he does drop it, it would be given to Ace so Trey can go away for a while and kind of have some time to reflect on losing his family. But if Trey is allowed to go back into the title picture and is demanded to get that damn title back and gets it back, this was meaningless. He should have never dropped it. So that's the part one. Part two. This is about Speedball. If Ace does not have a feud with Speedball, then there was no reason for Trey to drop it. I can understand that it's got to be about Speedball because they're trying to do something new with him. But if he does not have a feud with Ace, Trey should have kept the title. And if Trey gets it back, then what was the point of letting Ace have it? Ace did not need it. He really needs to be actually in a tag. He needs to be in a tag. That's where he should be, because that's where he was with Madman Fulton, who is supposedly out because he's injured in possible storyline. He's out. So he could be really injured. I don't know. So it would have been better if Trey's just going to get it back. Either let him have a feud with Speedball or let him tag with Speedball. I'm just saying. Now, Ishii versus Jonah. Now, here's where the problem is. I don't know who won. My guess, Jonah had to win. Because Ishii's been bouncing around a lot. So I don't expect Ishii to actually be in Impact much. He's not given any storylines. He's not given any promo segments. He's not given any interviews. Not given any ring segments. So he's just bouncing from promotion to promotion. So I don't generally expect him to win it. If he does win it, that means there's going to be another match between him and Jonah. But I don't know what happened with Jonah and him because I could not watch the end of the match. But for what I did watch, seeing how stiff and physical they were being, that was the second best physical match between Jonah and Ishii. As I said, I like Ishii. There's something about him that's just interesting. And I'm not saying that he's better than Suzuki, but I like Ishii a little bit more than Miroru Suzuki. That's how I feel. So I don't know who won, but my guess is Jonah should win unless they're going to have a second match, which would be a little strange because PCO has now been brought back. I'm just saying. Now, I did not see all of the elimination tag. I just didn't. I didn't see what happened in the very beginnings of the tag. I did see that Jordan Grace and Morrissey were going up against the what is it? I forgot what they call themselves. The major players, but I don't know how the match went. I only know that the major players won and the Good Brothers went up against them. And as the stream kept going on and off, I saw the Good Brothers beat the major players. I saw them going up against, and I didn't even need to see how long they were there because I lost the stream again, and I knew that Dice and as I said, what was the point of teaming them up just to make them jobbers so easily in that Swinger and Ziggy? And I knew they weren't going to even make it any further than the Good Brothers. They already got the asses whooped by them. They got whooped again. Pretty much, I could not see what happened with Rick Swan and Wooly. I don't know what happened there. The only thing I know is that they went up against Rhino and, Rhino and Heath. I knew they went up, but I didn't see the match. So my guess is when they went up against Violent by Design, obviously the Good Brothers were eliminated. So we got to see, and that was the part I did see, Violence by Design going against Heath and the Rhino himself. At least part of it anyway. It wasn't bad. It wasn't a bad match. But I'm thinking there's going to be one or two ways it's going to go down. Either Violence by Design is going to keep the titles, which I don't think they want to job them out right now. I don't see them. Unless you're going to have them job out the Heath and the Rhino, and then they're going to have a feud with Rhino and Heath again, which they had last year, because that would have made some sense because of how Rhino had been treated while Heath was away because of his pretty bad injury in his knee. So, I think it was his knee. The question is going to be, would they do it? Or would the Briscoes come back and face Violence by Design? I was wondering if the Briscoes would come back. But, no, the Briscoes, did they come back? Now I can't remember if the Briscoes had come back. Yeah, I'm just saying this. If they had won, that's Heath and Rhino, I felt that Violence by Design would feud with them. But that didn't happen. Heath and Rhino lost. And this is what you got. Violence by Design retains. The question is, who is now going up against Violence by Design? You just went through all the teams and one makeshift team of Morrissey and Jordan Grace, which I really didn't get a chance to see. I wish I could have seen the match. I wanted to see how well Jordan Grace would work with Matt as well as Brian. I really wanted to see it, but I couldn't. The match that was more disappointing to me than anything else, and it wasn't because I hate either one of them, and that's Tasha or Rosemary. When I did see it, and I did see most of the match, Rosemary looked tanked. Guys, you tell me below. The beginning of the match I didn't see. I saw middle to near the end of the match. Rosemary looked by, I think, halfway through the match, tanked. She looked totally exhausted. I don't know. There was points where she was botching the moves that Tasha was trying to do. When she tried to do her crucifix bomb, she couldn't do it because Rosemary lost grip of her and just dropped in exhaustion. I'm not saying they weren't being physical with each other, but Rosemary just looked tanked. I don't know what was going on. Eventually, Rosemary won. And you see Tasha patting her on her boobie, saying, nice work, and she retains the title, even though it did take the Sienna Evans. And I don't know what happened with Havoc. I'm taking a guess since she wasn't there. Either she got her butt beat up, or she got ejected. My guess is maybe she got ejected, because I don't see Sienna Evans nailing Havoc to the point where she can't perform. So I guess she got ejected. That's how I feel. Finally, It's all about will. That's the title of this video, and I'm not changing it. Josh Alexander versus Moose. This was the only match the stream finally cleared up on and was solid. Every other match I could only see partially. This was the only one I could see for its entirety. The opening, you actually got Josh coming down with his son Jeff. I believe his name is Jeff. And I believe I got a shot of that. Is in my face. I don't know if I'm going to put any images. I might put an image in this one and one other. I don't know. I might. But seeing Josh bring his son down, and I know there's some idiotic fool who's going to be saying, oh, here comes Numbnuts taking his son out. Dude, stop being angry. Stop. You got a serious problem. Not me that's got the problem. It's not Josh who's the problem. You the problem. You the problem. This match clearly was a 6-month build. Was it a great build? No. It had points where not many people are going to be agreeing with it. Not even I agreed with it. There was some people that thought Josh was going to turn heel, which I knew he was not going to turn heel. But by the time this happened here, there were only 2 options. And I will get to the match in a minute. There were only 2 options. Either he had to win the title, or in this situation, after finally getting back to the title, if he did not win, he pretty much would either be wiped out, but generally, he'd be done and go to Honor No More. Now, I know the person that said it at that time when he lost the title, because of only having it for 2 minutes, that he's going to turn heel. That was not the time he was going to turn heel. It was not the time, particularly after he beat Jonah. That was about 2 or 3 weeks after Bound for Glory. So here, after 6 months, he had to turn heel. Because at this point, there was nothing left for him to do. There was nothing left. He'd gone through practically anyone from outside and anyone inside. He had to turn heel. He had to attack Scott D'Amore. That's the best option there was. Even though it was showing signs he wouldn't, if he didn't win, he had to turn heel. So, what did we get? We got one of the best matches we've seen in quite a while. These guys tried to kill one another. At one point, you worry about Moose literally getting 10 suplexes very high on his neck. At least 4 of those 10. He actually did 11, but that wasn't in the chain. It was maybe about 2 or 3 minutes afterward. He went very high up on the neck back here. That makes you a little nervous, particularly that he had at least 1 C4 spike already. You get a little worried. And then when it came to Josh, when Moose not only pulled off 1 turnbuckle, he pulled off 2 and threw Josh into both of them, particularly doing a buckle bomb onto Josh's neck. Now, yes, that turnbuckle was padded, even though it was thin padding, it was padded. But you know how Josh's neck and back has been surgically repaired. And if anyone says who gives a fuck, I hope he gets hurt, you should be ashamed of yourself. You're not a human being. I'm saying it now. For anyone who says that Numbnuts doesn't deserve it, he just went into 2 turnbuckles with a surgically repaired neck. Whether you like his ass or not, he risked his ability to walk and hold his son and wife to entertain you. So stop acting stupid. Stop it. If you have a complaint, say, well, he didn't perform that well because he did this move bad, or I don't think he did this long. That's a critique. There's no problem. But you call him because of his clothes, or you call him a numbnuts, you are the most stupidest motherfucker I've ever heard. And I'm going to be honest here. For the person that leaves that kind of comment that says, who gives a damn about him? He's stupid numbnuts. You are the most stupidest motherfucker, whether you're a man or woman there is. The guy had a surgically repaired neck. It has been proven. He went into 2 turnbuckles. Even if they were padded, he could become paralyzed for your ass to entertain you. Think about that for a minute. Show a little respect. Now, how well did the fans take this match? They were the loudest throughout the entire show from what I can tell. Now, they were allowed for the Duranus title match, they were loud for Taya. Yes, they were. They were very loud for her. But here, it was deafening to what extent they could inside that arena in what was it called? The MJN Center in Poughkeepsie. It's not a big arena. It wasn't. It was not a big arena, but they tried to be as loud as they could by the time it was over. And they were cheering Josh and Musa. Just like that. So they did their job well. And in the end, after now receiving 11 suplexes, 2 minutes after the first 10, Moose finally was done. After getting how many C4s? I think he got 2 to 3 C4 spikes. He finally lost, and we finally get the payoff over a 6-month period for Josh Alexander. He is now the Impact World Heavyweight Champion. Now, how do I feel about the show? This pay-per-view, this show was good. But here's where the question's going to be for the future. How long will Josh be champ? Honestly, it's a good question. And the best thing I can say is this. Josh did have a 6-month build. Not everyone agreed with. There's some people just didn't like the build. Some people were fine with the build. Me, I was fine with the build. For the simple reason there was no one else to do the build with. And here's the problem. The only person they've ever had that has the most amount of traction is Moose. Straightforward, flat out. Moose has had over a 2-year period the best build of any wrestler from Impact in the last 5 to 7 years. Flat out. Other than Rick Swann, who won the title after he came back when he got his knee repaired and got metal put in it. He's the only other person who's had such a good rise. And now you give this to Josh Alexander, who's had a good 6-month rise, but not a 2-year rise as a Moose. People see Moose as the face of the company. That's who is the face of the company right now. It's Moose. And unless Wyndham Rotunda is coming in, because a lot of people wonder where he is, the former Bray Wyatt, who easily, if he did go to Impact, could move the needle to a certain extent. Not make it huge, but people want to know where he is. Other than him, I don't know who would come in that could really make Impact better. Because they need someone extra next to Moose and Josh Alexander. Because if they don't bring someone in, maybe like a Cesaro, maybe like a Wyndham Rotunda, the former Cesaro, Big Tony, as Sheamus called him, former Cesaro, a former Bray Wyatt, who else would be possibly good for Impact Wrestling? Who would be good? I'm not exactly sure. Who else would be good other than those two? But if they don't bring them in, the thing you're going to have, Josh is going to be transitional. And easy, unless it's going to be like a Sami Callihan coming back, where a lot of people wondering where he is. Unless Sami comes back to challenge a Josh Alexander, he's going to be transitional, so Moose may get the title straight back. Unless it's going to be Eddie Edwards, which, honestly, the way Eddie has been, it would make sense storyline-wise for Eddie to win the title from a Josh Alexander, who would still be a transitional champion. But honestly, I wouldn't want to see Eddie as champ. I just don't, because he just doesn't feel credible enough. If it had been Chris Sabin, like I've been saying, Chris has been there since the opening of the damn company. If he had been the one to go to Honor No More, it would have been way more substantial than an Eddie Edwards. Chris Sabin would have destroyed Impact Wrestling and the persona of it. Eddie, he's important to it, but he's not as important as a Chris Sabin. I'm just saying. So this was a good pay-per-view. If, and this is the question, unless it was in my area, that the reason I just could not get the stream to work properly, because it could happen. If it was Fight and their website and their app, or it was Impact themselves, this was the worst show you could ever seen because of how bad the internet and the stream was. But this is my point of view. Peace.